Sergeant and Mrs. Smith, you're going to love this house.
Is that a tub in the kitchen?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
This is the way.
We're wanted men.
Jason, good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I didn't sleep well last night. I kept getting, this is crazy, but I kept thinking every time my eyes would kind of like flitter open that it was time to jump on the Target app and try to see if I can get that prototype Boba Fett.
That's tomorrow, isn't it?
I know, but you just never know with these things. And like maybe they suddenly come into stock and they'll ship it to you. I don't know, but it's supposed to be live tomorrow morning.
Right. Unless people know the back door.
But I kept waking up. I'm like, maybe it's happening now. And then I would check Target and I'd be like, just go to sleep. So I'm very tired. And sometimes like that anxiety I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm good. The joys of a modern collector, dude.
Yeah.
It sucks, man.
It does.
And then I was talking to somebody last weekend and they pay Yak Face. Yak Face apparently has a Patreon where you pay them like $5 or $10 a month, and they give you all the back doors. So you can go on because we were talking about how the retro Boba Fett's never hit the shelves, and he was like, well, I got one. And we're like, how the hell did you get one? Well, I pay Yak Face like $5 a month to get the back doors. Because they do, stuff like that happens. If you know where to look, you can get,
Yeah, Yak Face is a whiz with like shipping manifests and knowing exactly when figures are going to hit warehouses, and that's just a whole like new level of modern collecting ninja training right there.
Well, I was actually the recipient of that yesterday with the Boba Fett Hallmark ornament.
Yes.
So.
Did you get one?
Yes.
The animated.
The animated one. I got it like an hour and a half before it went on sale.
Wow.
I know somebody. Who has that kind of stuff.
That's awesome, man. Wow. Way to go.
Yeah. So I kind of held my breath for a minute and it worked. Like a couple hours later it went through.
I would be paranoid that I would get the order, but then it was canceled because it wasn't, noon. You're ordering it around 11. It's supposed to go live at noon, and somehow you order it an hour before. I would just be like, that whole hour, like, is it going to get canceled?
Oh, dude, I was worried about it and then on top of that, I paid it through PayPal, and they were like, this charge is pending. So I was like, crap. And until I realized that it was good. I until it finally went through, and I'm like, phew. And then I hate paying PayPal because it's my wife's PayPal. So it goes through her email address instead of mine. So I never see the confirmation emails. And then I'm asking her about it a couple of days later. And she, oh, hold on a minute. I hadn't checked my email in like 3 days. And, she'll forward me the information, and it does me no good because I need her, it's just a big mess.
Yeah.
And I try not to use her email, but I always fail. But yeah. You get anything fun over the San Diego it's whatever virtual cons they're releasing right now. Walmart Con, Target Con. It seems like everybody, you can't have a real con this year or whatever, so they're just releasing stuff online.
Yeah. So Target had 3 carbonized troopers, and I skipped those.
Oh, I was wondering if you're going to pick up the Scout Trooper or not.
I might wait and see. Well, it's like pearlized. It's not even carbonized. It's this weird mother of pearl Scout Trooper. But it's to the point where it's just like enough. This is repacks and repaints of things that were never in the movie. It's not like an anniversary figure. They did that for what, the 3.75. There was a couple like silver figures that they released, and I'd pick those up, and I'm like, but then they stopped getting away from anniversaries, and it was just like, here's just another silver figure, and it was just like, no, you got to stop this. And I feel like they got to stop these carbonized things because it's just repacks and repaints for just trying to cash in.
Yeah, that's the Hasbro's pissing me off with all that crap. I mean, they look cool. I mean, I do have the Mandalorian and the Boba Fett version, but after that, it's like, why bother? I mean, I could see you, and I said Scout Trooper, but I meant Shore Trooper.
Yeah, I might pick it up.
Just because you have a thing for Shore Troopers.
Yeah.
And you have all of them, so why not pick up the carbonized one? But there again, your Hasbro's getting another $25 out of you when they already got $350 for the barge, and now they're just, they're doing the Rancor, which is probably gonna be another $250, and just it's getting, how much money are you gonna bleed out of as Hasbro?
Right. And then like the Super Trooper Mandalorian, what's his name? The Heavy Mando.
Yeah, Heavy Man.
He's another one of those. It was just like, this is the third time you released him in the credit collection. You released him in just a regular figure. It's like, there's he appeared in 2 episodes? Like, there's just no reason for this.
Right. And yeah, but they also did that with they did the Cara Dune. They did her 3 ways. They did the Mando 3 ways. They did, so they're doing that on all the other Mandos, and then they also did it on a 3.75.
Yeah.
3 3/4. They did it a normal and a carbonized version, which I don't understand, but damn you, Hasbro.
Yeah, but I have all the carbonized except for the Sith Trooper, and then these 3. But I don't feel the need to get anything other than the Shore Trooper because I have that affinity for that figure, for that character.
Right.
That look, that armor, that aesthetic, whatever you want to call it. I like that. So I might next spring when it hits shelves see if I can get one, but I don't feel the need to pre-order, which says a lot because I'm usually like a completist, but here I'm like, you know what? Maybe not anymore with these carbonized ones.
Yeah, it gets to the point where enough's enough, because even in the midst of all this crap, them releasing stuff, back to Funko, they finally, I have a set that they have completed, the Rebel set that they've had completed for 2 or 3 years, and they're releasing a Super Mandalorian, or one of the Mandalorians from Rebels into this set. I'm like, son of a...
One more.
I gotta go buy. Damn you, Funko, because I got rid of all my Fets for that very reason, because they're like, oh, here's a bunch more Fets, and I just didn't want to have to hunt them down.
Would you get young Hera from Bad Batch?
Whew. I don't know. I'd have to see it, because because it even though it's a Rebels character, it would be branded as a Bad Batch character, as in the Bad Batch group. At least my attitude.
Yeah.
But.
And then Walmart has exclusive Clone Wars figures for both 3.75 from the vintage collection and the Black Series. And so in the Black Series, there's the Clone Commander, I think, General Grievous, and Mace Windu. And it's very, very odd that they haven't released any imagery for those Black Series figures other than the Gennady Tartakovsky, I hope I pronounced his name right, graphics from the show. And just like, this figure's coming in Black Series. So we don't even know if this is heavily stylized or if it's just a repack of General Grievous and Mace Windu and this clone trooper with new artwork on the side, because the new Black Series has that the artwork that you can kind of piece together and make this massive long image. So I don't know if it's part of that or what they're doing, so I only ordered the clone because clones are typically tough to find.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a new clone. I don't think we've got that one yet, but for General Grievous and Mace, I haven't ordered that because I already have them.
Right. I feel you'd probably be opening a Pandora's box if you redid those in the Clone Wars styling, maybe, because then, maybe they're going to release more of them. But I know they're doing that in the 3 3/4, they're doing the whole, very stylized Clone Wars.
Well, the whole thing with the Black Series is supposed to be realistic, and that's why it was weird when they started making Ezra and Hera and all the Rebel crew, because they're animated, and so they kind of interpreted what that might look like in realistic form.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be weird for them to make this highly stylized 6-inch figure.
Right.
But then they went ahead and so I'm a very passionate vintage collector. I love the line. I love the look. Sometimes it bothers me that, like Hondo is on a Star Wars card and not like a Galaxy's Edge card. You'd have to make something up. But the whole thing with the vintage collection was just kind of the same thing with the Black Series, that this would be some sort of realistic interpretation of the characters. So when it came time to make Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, they made them look real, and they photoshopped the card back to make them look like they're from the movie, like almost like instead of watching a cartoon, you're just watching a live action version of the Clone Wars, which kind of threw people off, but that was their whole branding, was that this was going to be a real interpretation. But then they went ahead and made these new card backs with imagery from the show, and it's just like, as someone who's in marketing and tries to make brand consistency with everything that I do, whether it's social media or the website, or I'm working on some infographics for proposals, and it's just like everything that I do, I try to keep in mind that brand consistency. So within the vintage collection, we're kind of deviating from that consistency, where we have these animated imagery, when, like for Hondo, Hondo from Galaxy's Edge, we only have that one animatronic, and it's a very real version of that character. It's not from the Clone Wars or from Rebels. It's like this very real interpretation of Hondo. I don't know, maybe I care too much, but it's just weird to have these cartoon characters at the same time. I love the look of it.
Right. Well, that's what threw me about the Rebel stuff, is because they did try to make them look, more realistic. And I think for the most part, they pulled it off. I know Gentle Giant did a Sabine. They did a run of Rebels bust, and those just look bad, as far as I'm concerned, because Sabine looks like an old Asian lady. She looks like about 40 or 50 years old, where she should be in her 20s. And same thing with Kanan. I think Gentle Giant missed the mark on those, even though I think they're cool. But the face, because Sabine, you could put her helmet on and she looks great, but then you put the head on it and it's who the hell's that? So, but yeah, I feel your pain, dude.
Yeah. So I'm torn, but I have the clones from the vintage collection coming. Battle Droid. I didn't order 2 of the Ayla Securala. I don't remember if I have her name right. And then there was another one that I haven't ordered yet, but I'll order them. They're still, as of this morning, still available.
Well, that'll tell you something right there. Nobody wants them.
Yeah. So I don't feel the rush to get it, but I will.
Yeah, I think we all kind of, as collectors, we've learned not to play their games a little bit. And I think, truthfully, as a collector, don't buy, if you don't like the repacks, don't buy them, because then it'll send a message to Hasbro to quit doing it. Or hopefully Hasbro will get the message to quit doing all these repacks, because we don't want them.
Yep, and that's where I am with the carbonized stuff. It's like, all right, stop with the repacks and the blatant repaints.
Right.
The cash-in repaints. That's
Exactly.
what I probably should call them. But
where they just want your money.
So
was that all you got? Was those couple of things? You hadn't bought anything else over the last couple of weeks? Because it's been a couple of weeks since we've.
Yeah, I got
live.
I already mentioned the Walmart exclusives. I'm going to open something live.
Uh-oh.
It's the Hot Wheels Mandalorian on the speeder.
Uh-huh.
And I know this is a visual gag, but if I can just. There, it's open. I don't collect the Hot Wheels except for the Mandalorian stuff. I've kind of limited to that.
Mm.
So this is the Mando on the speeder bike with Grogu kind of hanging off the back of it, and it's cute, but I've only seen it once, and I picked it up because I like it. But
right, I do need to pick that one up. I need to start looking for that because I do have. I've got the Grogu and.
There's 2 Grogus.
Right. Oh, I don't have. I don't know which one I have. I know there's one where he's doing something different.
Yeah, the newer one, he's eyes closed, hands out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, he's just kind of hanging out in the crib. But they're both in the crib.
Okay. Yeah, because the Baby Yoda would be ridiculously small.
Yep. And then, so, Entertainment Earth had the Boba Fett mask.
Uh-huh.
The Black Series one available for September, October. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, I'll get it. And expecting it to be available then, and I got a notification that it's going to arrive today. So that'll be arriving soon.
Yeah, I do. Now that's your like shipping and stuff. I do have a complaint about shipping, and it's annoying. It's one of those annoying things because I had today's my wife's birthday, and I had ordered her this ordered her a present. I don't know if she's listening, so I'm not going to say what it is yet, but it had come from California, and I'd ordered it like in April, and the guy was going to make it and everything, and he messages me on Wednesday that he's mailing it. I was like, oh man, I'm never gonna get it in time. So I'm sitting there just frantically watching UPS and USPS, and it shows that it's leaving California, and then I don't get any updates until this morning when it says it's at the post office out for delivery.
Huh.
Yeah. It's like, you guys suck because you had me sweating that this thing was not gonna make it in time for her birthday. And it's at the post office.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's Harrison's birthday today, my son.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday, Harrison.
Happy birthday, Mandy.
Yeah. I did, dude, I missed the, if y'all didn't see the Easter eggs from last episode or didn't hear the Easter eggs from last episode, go listen to them. Your little interview with Harrison is nice. I don't want to call it cute because he's a boy and he's 14 and he'll be like,
it was cute though.
Yeah.
I kind of called him in. I'm like, hey, dude, come here for a second. He came in and I just moved the microphone. Yo, tell me about this.
And he was
just
like,
kind of put him on the spot. If I had asked him, he would get like anxious and be like, I don't know. But yeah,
right.
it was cute.
Yeah. And I do have, you purposely named him after Harrison Ford, right?
No. Well, yes and no.
Uh-huh.
Have I told this story?
No, you haven't. So
he was originally Xander. And that was the name we were going to go with. And then the day he was born, I was holding him. I'm like, he doesn't feel like a Xander.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next day we're kind of throwing names around, and we did come up with Lucas, but our roommate was Lucas. My wife and I, we had a roommate in college. His name was Lucas, and we always liked that name. Obviously, there is some connection to Star Wars. So, but they're like, okay, well, maybe Lucas. So I'm holding him the second day. And the third day comes around, I'm like, he just doesn't feel like a Lucas to me. And so we start going through all these names, and I was naming all these geek names. And he was feeding at the time, and I was going, Peter, Clark, Kent, Paul, which is my middle name, my dad's name. And I did say Harrison. I said Luke. I said Harrison. And when I said Harrison, he stopped feeding, and his head turned, and he looked at me. And my wife and I kind of looked at each other like, oh, crap. And so we gave it a second. And then I started going through the names again. And then when I got to Harrison, he again paused. He didn't look at me, but he paused. And I'm like, okay, his name is Harrison. And that's been his name.
Oh, that's better than the way my wife. I love that story. That's awesome. That's better than the way my wife got her name. I guess they had a boy's name picked out. And then on the way to the hospital, they were like, we probably need a girl's name. And then they just, well, Amanda sounds nice. And that's what they named her.
Yeah.
And then comes out she was a girl. And yeah, that's an awesome story, dude. That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm glad that can say, like, I didn't name him after Harrison Ford. You picked your own name, dude.
Right. That's what I love. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about. Never mind. That's how I feel about animals too. You let them pick you, man. You go. They pick you. You don't pick them.
Yep. Exactly.
But go ahead.
The other thing that happened this week was kind of crazy.
Is this the awesome special story you were saving for today?
Yeah, I probably hyped it up a little bit too much, but
okay.
But I got a text from my brother, and in the photo was a bunch of Nintendo Powers from the 90s that in the 80s that I thought I had thrown out, and the Power of the Force 2 Millennium Falcon box.
Ooh.
And I'm like, wait, what is that? And he's like, this was in the attic. I'm like, what? How did that get in the attic? Like, I thought that was thrown out. He's like, no, it's up in the attic. My stepdad pulled it down. So I'm like, well, what else is there? And he's like, I'm going to go take a nap. Talk to mom. I'm like, we're texting this. I'm like, dude, you can't just talk to mom. I'm going to go take a nap. So I FaceTime my mom, and she goes over and like, so she's showing me everything. And she's like, do you want all this stuff? And I mean, I have like volumes of Nintendo Power, probably maybe half the run, starting with number 1. So I'm like, yeah, I definitely want that. And then she goes over to the Millennium Falcon box and she starts going through it. And like, I had bagged all of the boxes from the vehicles. So it's the Slave 1, it's the Falcon, it's the X-Wing, it's the Outrider from Shadows of the Empire, the TIE Fighter. Did I say the X-Wing? It's all there.
Wow.
And I had thought I had gotten rid of all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, I'll be up there in the next couple months to get it. Yes, I want that. And she's like, do you want this thing? And she starts to unroll this transparency that I don't even remember having or how I got it. It's about 3 feet wide and it's about 6 feet tall. It's transparent except for an image of Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then the box set from 95 when they did the original trilogy One Last Time campaign. You know, I have that standee of Darth Vader in my room.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the VHS release. And you would put this transparency in the window so that you would see the box set of the VHS for Star Wars, the Star Wars trilogy, but you could also see through it. And I don't remember ever asking for this thing. I don't remember having it, and I've never seen it before. Like, that's the thing that's bugging me, is that somehow I got it, but I don't remember how I got it. I don't remember having it, but it's amazing.
Right.
And it looks like it's in good condition. So I can't wait to get that and get it framed and find a place for it.
You're going to have a hell of a time framing a 3x6 inch or 3x6 foot piece of art.
Well, it looks like I can get some filler frames, like frames for now, for like $90.
Okay.
Which isn't bad. And the thing I'm afraid of is it's like a transparent plastic. So is it fragile? Like, because it's been in an attic for 2 decades.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, I don't remember ever seeing this before. So
that's awesome, dude.
I went on to the Star Wars Collector's Archive to see if they had anything like it, because sometimes they do get into the 90s a little bit, but I didn't see it there. So I can't wait to share photos once I finally have it back in hand.
Right. No, that's that's awesome, because it's like childhood stuff, man.
Yeah. Stuff that I thought that it was gone,
mm-hmm.
that I had thrown out and tossed, both the boxes and the Nintendo Powers, and then to find something that, you know, I didn't even think I had or even knew existed is suddenly mine. I'm like, that's the dream right there, just to uncover something that is yours and you don't remember having and has been lost to you.
Right.
So it was awesome.
Yeah, that there's nothing quite like finding something like that, man. Because
So
it's just
No, I was ecstatic.
Yeah. No, because I found stuff like that where you think you lost it. It's nothing to do with Star Wars, but it's just something you think you lost and you find it like years later in the back of a drawer somewhere. And it's a nice feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'll go with because somebody got to go to the Summer Social and somebody didn't. But no, I want to go with what I got before we go into the Summer Social.
Yeah, and I also pulled some Market Watch stuff.
Okay. Let me go through my stuff, and then we'll go through the Market Watch, and then because there's more news, man. There's a ton of news.
Yeah,
there
is. Yeah.
But let me go through my week or a couple of weeks, and then we'll go into the Market Watch and the news and blah 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 blah. But dude, on the for the Summer Social, what I got, Christian Wagner showed up and hand delivered a piece of art to me, which was pretty sweet. It was awesome that he actually remembered to bring it down and was like, dude, we'll meet up. And then all of a sudden I'm getting a message from him going, hey, I'll be at the social tomorrow and I'll bring it to you. So we had a cool, 15-20 minute visit with him. And I got like a number 1 AP of Ahsoka's Remorse, which is for the 501st Trooper with Ahsoka in in the reflection, and it's a cool looking piece.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I picked up some prototype stuff, which I got a mock-up of a little kid's art set. And I got it because it has the Rebel, the Stormtrooper with the Rebel Phoenix, Rising Phoenix on it. So it doesn't say, it's not branded Rebels, but to me it's enough of a brand of a Rebels to pick it up. And it's got all the, mock-up, and it's got, everything on it that says prototype, and it's just got a ton of it on there. So I picked that up for cheap. I got a prototype of Count Dooku Galactic Heroes. I got a little Sabine head from the 3 3/4 series they did a few years ago. Got a whole ton of cases from our man Ian. I call him our crack dealer.
Plastic crack dealer.
Plastic crack dealer. He's like, "You're gonna get me in trouble," and I'm like, well, you are what you are, man. I can't argue with that. But he brought a ton of stuff and sold out of everything, so that was cool to see. And then I got a paint sample Fifth Brother from that same line that the Sabine is from. I haven't compared it. I haven't brought my other one up just to compare them to see where the differences are. But paint sample for cheap, you can't go wrong with that. And then like I said, for the just the Comic-Con releases or whatever the hell everybody's doing right now, I was able to pick up that Boba Fett, the classic Boba Fett. And then I got the Luke, not the Luke. I got a Luke 12-back card to go with my 12-back collection. But anyway, the Hot Wheels, they did a copy of the first #1 Star Wars, or not #1. I guess the where Vader's green and nothing, everything's real stylized. It's not, you can't tell that they totally had no clue what everybody looked like when they made it, because they looked nothing like anybody. And they did a Darth Vader car with that back to it, and I picked that up, and it kind of freaked me out when you're paying $20 for a freaking Hot Wheels car, but I can't argue. It was cool. It was too cool to pass up, because then you're seeing, because they did that one time with the original one and had it in a lightsaber, and those were running $50 to $75 on the secondary market, so I had to pick it up. But that's my fun.
You went through that fast, and that's a lot right there.
It really was. It's a lot, but it's not a lot. And I guess I talk too fast sometimes. But...
No, I don't mean like that. It was just like, not that you talk too fast. There's just like, there's a lot that you picked up, and you just kind of a couple prototypes and this and that. It's just like, whoa,
dude, I picked up a lot of prototypes. I picked up like 5 pieces from Anthony. He was at room sale. He showed up late, and he was kind of, I don't know if I'm going to bring my stuff in. I'm like, dude, bring your stuff in. I want to see. And he had some cool pieces. He actually, I did pick up what I thought was a prototype from him, because he had a 3PO run of Galactic Heroes, and I really didn't want it. But he had a run of 3POs, and he had a prototype and then all the production pieces, and he had one that came apart. And as the guy's making a deal with him, I'm like, no, you're not having that one. You're not buying that one. And the guy was just like, what do you mean? I want them all. I said, dude, but this one comes apart. I collect Galactic Heroes, and I don't know why it comes apart, but I got to figure out why it comes apart. And so I bought that one, and then come to find out it's a production piece.
Oh, no.
Because I'm looking at it going, okay, these Galactic Heroes are already small enough. Why the hell would you make one for a 5-year-old that comes apart? Because it's a choking hazard in my mind, but they actually made one that comes apart. Because, Anthony was kind of like, I don't know if it's a hard copy. It's got all the markings, but a hard copy normally has, metal pieces in it instead of plastic. And I just got excited, and it turns out to be a production piece, and it is what it is. And, I told the guy, he said, you're not going to piss me off with my daughter. I said, I'll deal with that when I see her again. Because this was like at 11 o'clock at night. It was a long weekend, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah. So what other news? I've got a couple of news things, but let's see what you got, and then I'll go from there. I'll fill in the gaps.
I did want to talk about the future of packaging. Because it's all going to be it's going to be plastic-less. It's going to be cardboard. It's not going to be what we have now today. And Yak Face a couple months ago had some sort of Hasbro survey where they were kind of showing off. We had talked about this. a new Black Series package without the window on the front because it's all plastic. It'd all be cardboard. And my daughter was up in New York City at the Disney store, and she bought a Little Mermaid doll for my niece, and it was all without plastic. It was almost like a shoebox with the Little Mermaid on it. You would kind of fold open the shoebox, and then the Little Mermaid would be in there, but she's kind of pinned, almost like it's a fold out pop-up book.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of folded in behind some coral, and so she's kind of locked in place. And when you open up the coral, that's when you can actually pull her out. And there's just one piece of rubber band that was holding her hair together, but there was no plastic in it. And I'm just like, this is what Black Series collecting is going to be. And then come to find out, the vintage collection Comic-Con exclusive Emperor and his throne is kind of the same thing, where there's a cover piece where you slide that off, and then there's the Emperor sitting on his throne, and then you can kind of unfold it even more kind of to the left and right. There's just almost like two, how to explain it, like almost like two towers kind of that you kind of fold down, and it makes the entire Death Star area that he's sitting, that whole like scene almost.
Right.
And so you're kind of unlocking it by unfolding it. And I think that is the future of packaging for Star Wars.
Right. I saw that and I was kind of impressed, but kind of like, now you got to build it up, because I did that. You know, you try sometimes when I try doing crazy stuff or dealing with crazy packaging like that, it never turns out right. You know, because I did the Back to the Future had a Playmobil advent calendar, and you unfolded the clock tower, and I can't get it folded right. It looks cool, but you could just tell it's not right. So I don't know if that's going to be the same situation or not.
We'll have to see, but that's the future. I'm kind of curious as to how they're going to do that with the vintage collection. Because if you get away from the plastic, you get away from that aesthetic.
Right.
And so will they make an exception for the vintage collection?
They probably will. I don't see why they want it. I mean, that plastic is not, I don't know, it's not a whole lot of plastic, but.
Or do they retire it and they go back to the Black Series boxed 3.75 that they once did?
But that's still got, I guess they could. It's still plastic though, but if they're going to get, then you're not going to see the figures. But.
Right. So you won't know if it's a good paint job or not.
Or hell, even if it's the right figure in there.
But I do think that might be the future of Star Wars packaging.
I think that's going to be the future of packaging, period. I mean, remember, well, they used to have these things called CDs.
What's that?
and when they first came out, I guess so people wouldn't steal them. They had them in like these big, almost shoebox things. You remember those? You know, they were like a foot tall, you know, in these boxes.
No.
Yeah, dude, they were basically the size of a CD, but they were, I guess, a shoebox or what. I don't know how to describe them, but they were the width and the depth of a CD, but they were like 2 foot tall or like a foot tall. Huh. And then they had the CD in there, and then a couple of years later they stopped making them. I mean, they made cool because they had the art of the CD on it, and I guess with the same thing, people were trying to conserve cardboard, and then they went with the whole, you know, anti-theft devices that they can keep, and now they don't. Now you can't even find a CD. So, future of packaging.
Right. I'm gonna have to go back and Google that, because I had no memory of CDs looking like that.
Yeah, it was just like a little cardboard thing, and it, you know, like I've got a matchbook in front of me, and I guess it would be like a matchbook. I don't know. And you just
was it like a cardboard case?
Yeah, it was a cardboard case, basically.
And then you would open up the cardboard case and the CD would be in there, right?
Right.
Yes, I remember now.
There you go.
I think they had Queen. My parents had Queen like that.
Mm-hmm. God, I love me some Queen. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed Queen until I went to that cover concert, and it was really fun.
That dude sounds just like Freddie Mercury. It's kind of scary.
Dude, it is. And, you know, I'm sitting there singing, and I'm trying to have a good time, and I'm trying to, like, the first set, I'm being reserved. And like,
this isn't Freddie.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to be nice because we're in the back, and, you know, you're you don't want to piss the people off that are behind you because you're standing up and crap. And I'm still singing along and stuff. And during one part of the set, he goes, "We got any Queen fans in here?" And the lady in front of me turns around and goes, "This guy." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And then the second set, I just said, "F it," because, the people behind me be damned. I'm going to have a good time. But yeah, that was I think that was a better show than Queen, because I saw Queen and Adam Lamberg, and it paired in comparison, just because as a musician, you want to hear the solos and the riffs and the breakdowns you want to hear the whole song. Right. And the Queen and Adam Lamberg just was like, it felt like a variety show, but it is what it is.
That's awesome.
I didn't pay to go to it. My daughter won tickets. It was kind of funny. We were driving home. Actually, we were driving home from the Winter Social like 2 years ago, and the radio station was giving away tickets, and we're all dialing. And in the back seat, I hear her go, "I love Queen." And she won tickets.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's one show I might want to go see.
Queen or Mark Martel?
Mark Martel.
Yeah, if he ever comes back.
Because he sounds so much like it.
If he ever comes back, they did such a killer job. It's worth it. You need to go.
Yeah.
But you got any more news?
I did get my Jackson Black Series and Darth Maul comic packs.
Yeah.
Those look cool. I mean, they are what they are. It's just, yeah, it's
awesome.
Cool. I did get that. I forgot to mention that.
Did you watch the Star Tours behind the attraction?
No, I didn't get that far.
Okay. I watched it. It was pretty good. But I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to know everything they tell you.
Probably.
I kind of felt like it was the same. I mean, there was a little bit of intrigue and stuff we didn't know, or I didn't know, but you see the story so many times. And after about halfway through, they go into Galaxy's Edge, which I was like, I thought this was Star Tours, but
right.
Then it's just turns into an advertisement for Galaxy's Edge.
We watched the Jungle Boat, and halfway through that turned into a preview for the Jungle Boat movie.
Oh, did it really? I'm about halfway through that one. So
yeah, it turns. Yeah, I mean, that's why The Rock. He's an executive producer for the show, but that's why he's involved in that episode, is because he's got the new movie coming out.
Right, that they've been stalling for a year and a half now.
Yeah,
I've heard people that are like, "I'm going to riot if The Rock shows up in the Jungle Cruise."
He might. I don't know how to tell that to people in a way that they're comfortable, but look what happened to Jack Sparrow. He's now part of the ride.
Right. They even have a live action Jack Sparrow in the queue for the ride now.
Do they?
Yep.
Oh.
Huh?
Art imitating life, imitating art.
It's kind of weird because he's sort of like in jail, and it's like at waist level. So if you don't, so like you're looking down on him, and if you're not paying attention, you would never, if he's not in there, you wouldn't even notice it. But the only reason you notice it is because somebody's yelling at you down there, and you're like, "Oh, it's Jack Sparrow." But yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, get used to it. You're going to see a muscle-bound Rock on the shores of the Jungle Boat cruise at some point down the line here.
All right.
They're going to incorporate some of the movie, especially if the movie's a success.
Right.
If it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, then yes, it's going to be incorporated into the ride. If it's like Haunted Mansion, then out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, you never saw Eddie Murphy in the Haunted Mansion.
No.
Jeez.
No, and there was talk about putting Jennifer Tilly. Is that her name? She played Madame Leona in the movie, and there was talk about putting her on the ride, but that never happened. They just kept the original actress.
Okay. I think that would have been silly, because if the movie didn't do good, why would you want to see that actor and actress in there?
Right. They kept it.
While we're on Disney Plus, did you see any of the Visions preview video?
The trailer?
Yeah.
I saw the trailer, yeah.
Wow. Now that got me excited. Because I think,
Good.
Yeah. I'm like, now I want to see it, or at least some of the cool ones, because it looked better than the whooshing of the wind, and like you like putting that anime is, or manga. But
Magna. Yeah, I'll watch it. I'm not overly excited about it, but I'll watch it. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. At least now we know what to expect.
Yes.
and it looks like, looks good.
Yeah.
And they also in Doc Ondor's they did they updated the Ahsoka sabers. They did the updated ones from the last episode of Clone Wars, or last season of Clone Wars, where they're more straight. Or Clone Wars and Rebels, that version of her lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
They did that in Doc Ondor's now. Yeah. So
I didn't see that. I missed that one. Yeah, more money for Disney.
More money for Disney.
Like they need it.
Right.
Bleeding us dry.
Freaking Disney. But and then also,
No, go ahead.
And then the Disney Gallery, I guess is doing a 2-part making of The Mandalorian, focusing on the season finale, where they bring Luke back.
Yes, I want to see that. I just watched the last episode again this past week. My daughter was watching TV and she's like, I shouldn't be watching TV. I'm like, give me the remote. So I put on the last episode of Mandalorian as kind of like a way to motivate her to get up, but then I ended up watching the entire episode. And I noticed, I don't remember if we've brought this up or if I've seen this anywhere else, but that last episode was dedicated to Jeremy Bullock.
Right.
It was kind of hidden in the credits.
Well, and the way Disney does those credits, you're never going to see it anyway.
Right. But it was there. And then they just released a weird Grogu poster yesterday with Luke making a lightsaber with Grogu.
Right.
And at first I thought it was a fan-made poster because Grogu kind of looked like the Sideshow collectible version.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently it's a legitimate poster and he's got a yellow kyber crystal. And I'm like, that's a weird way to introduce that reveal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, here's a poster.
Yeah, I'm curious where they're going to go with Mandalorian season 3 because, are they going to go with Grogu? Or are they going to go with Mando? Or is it going to be a split season? Is it going to be like with the Bad Batch, where all of a sudden you have an episode where there's Grogu and then Mando shows up 15 minutes in for 5 minutes and then disappears? But
yeah, if Luke shows up, they need to get rid of this CG stuff and start playing with the deep fakes. Because they just had a Paul McCartney music video that was just released.
Uh-huh.
And they put the 60s Paul McCartney over somebody else's body. And it looks super convincing.
Wow.
And so they got to do that. They got to stop making these CG faces.
I don't know if they could hold it up for an hour and a half, or, however long an episode was, because I don't know how expensive that stuff is. I mean, 5 minutes here and there is one thing, but doing it for an hour and a half, would they be able to, is the technology there to hold it up, or can Disney afford to do that for an hour and a half?
Yeah.
But I think just like with Solo, give you 10 minutes and you'd be over them recasting them.
Yeah.
As long as they do it convincingly.
Yep.
But yeah. Let me see if I got anything else. I don't think. Oh, I wanted to thank whoever left us a 2-star review on iTunes. Thank you.
What star?
2-star. All it says, yeah.
With no explanation?
No explanation. All it is 2 stars.
Thank
I
you.
looked.
Keeping it real.
Huh?
Keeping it real.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking, maybe, I was just looking and I saw, we got another review. And I looked and it was 2 stars with no explanation.
While we're doing reviews, I want to thank RTM 1998. Did I say 88? 98. Anyways, they posted a review a few weeks back ago. I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps. I did also, while we're just talking about everything, we did move the hosting site. So things, I hope, is pretty seamless. So if things get weird over the next episode or two, that's why we moved hosting to a new site, and you'll be hearing more stuff about that here soon. So you want to talk about Bad Batch real quick?
I didn't watch the last episode.
Okay. Well, then
I'm not caught up, but I did see the one before that. I don't know what you want to talk about.
I don't know either. I just had Bad Batch. Well, let's talk about this real quick. Do you think with them reintroducing Hera and Chopper that's going to increase the price on all the Rebel stuff?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. We'll see.
Right.
My gut would say no, but I've known to be wrong from time to time.
You won't know until you see that stuff skyrocket. and then you'll be like, freaking Dave Filoni bringing it back. But I don't know if I've mentioned it here or not, but Dave Filoni, you gotta know he's doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
He's bringing Hera back, and he's bringing Cad Bane back for a reason. So.
And I saw that saw someone talking about Omega possibly being a combination of Palpatine and Jango Fett's DNA.
Ooh.
Because when you look at some of the way that she stands, like in posters, her hair is kind of like Palpatine. She's good at strategy, and she can sense things before they happen. So some people are like, is this the way to introduce Rise of Skywalker's reveal that the Emperor's been cloned, that they've been trying to clone him for decades now.
Right. It'll be interesting. There's 4 episodes left, so let's see what happens. Also,
There's a season 2 coming.
Oh, is there a season 2?
Yeah.
Great.
It's not officially announced, but I have it on good authority that there is another season coming.
All right. Well, I'm not going to spoil the last episode. There's an interesting never mind. I'm just going to shut up because you hadn't seen it yet. It's good, but go ahead. Huh?
Go ahead, say it.
It's good, but it's another filler episode. But then something happens where you're like, oh. And unless you know other lore, you wouldn't get you wouldn't get it.
All right, whatever. If you don't want to say it,
it's not a big, it's not a big spoiler, but if you want me to say it, I'll say it because I know how you don't like spoilers, but it's not a big, not a big, but you know, the 2-horned guy in Rebels that has a horn that's broken.
Yes.
They show how he loses his horn in this episode.
Oh. Okay.
But and you get to see the Pikes. The Pikes are in this episode, which I'm going, ooh, spice traders. So it's kind of cool to see the Pikes again and all that stuff, which ties in the last episode of Solo.
Yep.
But anyway, you want to go talk about the social?
Let me do the
do your market watch.
Market watch. I pulled Comic-Con stuff because it's Comic-Con weekend. So if you have the Comic-Con exclusive holographic Leia, that was part of the Saga collection, I think. That one's selling for about $16. There's the R2KT, which is the pink droid, and that's got a very touching story. If you want to know more about that, go onto the Star Wars YouTube channel. And there's what do they call them? The Star Wars stories. There's one about the founder of the 501st. That one is very, very touching, and it moved me. But R2KT is selling for about $70. Wow. Surprisingly, the Comic-Con Jyn Erso figure from right before Rogue One came out is selling for $70.
Which version is that? Is that the typical one where she's got a whole bunch more stuff to her?
Yeah, it's like in a special box that kind of slides open. It's got like a white front with like a grayish green image on the front of her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the San Diego Comic-Con Grand Admiral Thrawn, $185.
What?
Yeah, that's how much it sold for this past week.
Wow.
And then finally, for the market watch this week, San Diego Comic-Con Boba Fett with Kenner Deco sold this week for about $204.
Okay. At least that one seems to be holding pretty steady.
Yeah, I think that's the magic number there for those Boba Fetts. It's about $200, $250. Like the one with Han Solo and Carbonite, that one's about $250, and that's been holding that way for a couple of years.
Yeah. So I think, that's what I paid for mine, and then it kind of went down, and then it did the whole bouncing thing where it bounced between $100 and $300 depending on who bought it, and now it seems to be rock solid at about $200. Awesome.
Yep, awesome sauce.
Awesome sauce. Do you have any of those? Do you have the Jyn Erso?
I don't have the Jyn Erso. I don't have the holographic Leia or the Thrawn. I have KT and Boba Fett.
Cool. Yeah, I picked up. Huh?
Cool.
Yeah, I did pick up the Thrawn just because that's a badass figure. A few years ago when we were in Florida, that I found it was fun because I found this toy shop that I guess they were in the process of moving. And he was like, yeah, dig through all the boxes. And there was a Thrawn, and he wanted like $50 for it. So
Damn,
yeah.
that's a steal. That's less than it was sold for.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a $75 figure to start.
Right. I think it was, yeah. And that was another, because Hasbro Pulse was selling it. And it was one of those, it was the first time that I really dealt with having something in my cart. And by the time I checked out, it was gone. And I was just pissed. I messaged Hasbro and they're like, sorry, there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, damn.
So how was the social?
Hold on. I got to text my wife something.
Oh.
She wants to know where the lint roller is in the bathroom.
I was at a very loud wedding.
Yeah. How was that?
It was loud. It was a Greek wedding. I've never experienced anything like it before. It was a blast, but the DJ was just blaring the music to levels where it was just deafening. And you couldn't decipher drums from bass from vocals. It was just like
my
no
God.
exaggeration. And it's my understanding that they did ask the DJ to turn it down a couple times, and he would turn it down, but then he would turn it back up.
At that point, that's why I keep earplugs on me, especially when I go to stuff like that, because you just never know.
Deaf, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, years of being a musician and being born deaf in one ear, that I've learned to protect my hearing, and I have a little set of earplugs I keep on a keychain.
Yeah.
And just for that reason, because I've gone to one too many. Yeah, I've gone to one too many things where the band's way too loud or the DJ's way too loud, and it's just, yeah, I got to throw those things in. But that was what was it? It was your cousin?
It was my cousin. Yeah, she was getting married.
Awesome.
And the other side was Greek. So my whole family is watching them like dance in circles and get up on chairs, and we're just kind of like outside the dance floor clapping along like, okay, what do we do? I was going around to my cousins. Listen, everyone, we need to step it up. We need to do something. They're all dancing around. We're not.
Did you at least start dancing?
Well, we danced to like Bruno Mars and stuff. I felt like I couldn't dance to the Greek stuff because I didn't know if I was doing it right.
Yeah, dude, I have never been to a Greek wedding, but I used to be a photographer assistant, and the guy was Jewish, and been to a lot of Orthodox Jewish weddings where they separate the men and the women. They don't dance together, and those men get pretty crazy on the dance floor. So with the chairs and I guess they entertain the bride and groom, and they do some crazy stuff. So yeah. I kind of know what hearing the chairs and the everything. I kind of can imagine what you saw, and it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was just like they did the traditional, like, here's the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, and here's this bridesmaid and groomsmen, and now you're bride and groom, and they come out, and it was just an hour of clapping and music blaring and the dancing and the chairs. Then they were like still clapping and cutting the cake, and I'm just like, what is this? Wow, this is going on for an hour. This is pretty fun.
I did notice
so loud.
Huh?
If the music wasn't so loud.
I did notice your tie came off. I was looking at pictures, and like the start of the night you had a tie, and about halfway through it came off. So that was you being rebellious.
Yeah, I was. I was dangerous. Watch out, people. I had 3 sodas and I took my tie off. It was an open bar, so I did have some bourbon.
Ooh.
And went to bed around 10:30, and then this is the wedding podcast apparently. But no, I did. And then around 4:00, I planned to get up around 5 to get on the road because we did all from Grand Rapids to Atlanta all in one day, and planned to get up at 5. But there was drunk people just having fun out in the hall around 4. I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna get up and go.
It's a good wedding when that happens, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
and there was one of the luggage carts in the hallway, and I'm like, that wasn't there at 10:30 last night. How did that? Were people having rides down the hall or something?
Probably. I did go to a wedding since we're talking about weddings, we'll just go do it. I went to a wedding in New Orleans, and we, like, after we had a pre or post party, and I was in the wedding, and, so I'm in a tuxedo, and we're at the casino party, and I was like, I got to get out of this thing. So drunk, I was like gone. I walked from the casino to the hotel and back, praying that I wouldn't get lost because my cell phone was dead and I was drunk. You know, and it was just one of those moments where I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, stumbling, and nobody stopped me. Nobody said anything. You're walking around.
That's normal.
Yeah. And when you see somebody at 8 a.m. walk out of the elevator with the cracked beer, you're like, it's NOLA, baby. But let's get over to the social.
Yes. How was the social? What did I miss?
You missed a really awesome dinner, dude. I think Friday night was probably for me the better part. I mean, I enjoyed the whole aspect of it, but Friday night we had a welcome dinner in I guess it's Johns Creek area. And I show up, we were hanging out because me and Jerry, we got together early. We went to the hotel because I get off at like 3:30. So we met up about 4:00 at the hotel and hung out for a couple of hours, and a couple of the guys came down, and we all shared beers. And about 6:45, I'd called the restaurant and made the appointment and made the reservation. And we were like, all right, cool. We got the reservation. So we'll head over there about 6:45. And by the time we got there, everybody was already started to sit. And I get to the table and there's Tim Effler and Jim Swearingen. And I'm like, oh crap.
And for anybody who doesn't know who they are, who are they?
They are Jim Swearingen is the guy that Kenner flew to LA to see what Star Wars was and what they could do. He's like the lead designer on the whole Star Wars toy line. And Tim Tim worked for, I don't know what Tim's role was. I think he kind of in the later years had the same almost role. You know better than I do. Huh?
Yeah. He's a toy designer who worked
toy
on
designer.
Micro Collection, and he's like an artist too. So
yeah, it was cool because because before everybody got there, I wanted to ask Tim about all the Bill and Ted stuff. So my first words to Tim was like, dude, how much stuff did you do on Bill and Ted? He's like, well, I headed that. I was the head of that. I'm like, oh crap. So I sit down and I'm starting to show him all my art that I've got, because I got pictures. I've got all this pre-production art of Bill and Ted. And we talked for a minute, and he was kind of like, it was cool, but he was like, I didn't draw any of this stuff. He goes, it was probably these couple of guys. And we talked for about 10 or 15 minutes on that. And then he just was just like, bleh, for like 2 hours, just talking. It was great. And it's sad because I tried listening. Jim was sitting like right next to him, but it was a really noisy restaurant. And he was so soft spoken that it was hard to hear him. Mm-hmm. But it was still a cool, because I've got a list of stuff we talked about. And it was just, and thankfully Jerry was sitting next to me, and then Shannon, who's into the toy in the toy production. I'm not 100% sure what he does, but he works in like marketing and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was able to talk to Tim about just being able to just being in that triangle of those three guys for a couple of hours was just awesome. Because Tim was just like talking about this big gun prototype that he made, that when you shot it, you did the lever on it, and the weight, there was a weight in it that went to the front of the gun. And then when you shot it, so it got top heavy or front heavy, but then when you shot it, this weight shot back and like hit you in the shoulder to where you got a recoil. It felt like a recoil, but it just never made it to production because they were like, we don't do guns.
Was that a Star Wars gun or just a gun?
Just a gun thing. It was no Star Wars. It was just like a ridiculous sci-fi looking gun that it wasn't a real looking gun, but he just made this. It was huge and just gaudy and ridiculous, but it never made it to production because it was like Vietnam War era, and they felt like it wasn't a good thing to do.
Right. Not timely.
Yeah. And we talked, he was talking about the $6 Million Man, because he was involved in that. And he told me, he was telling a story about how they were trying to do a parachute for the 12-inch $6 Million Man. And they were dropping him off of the 4th floor of the Kenner building. And apparently they didn't have the backpack. The backpack was supposed to open from the top, but they didn't realize with the centrifugal force or the force or whatever, that of falling that the backpack would never open. They couldn't figure, they didn't have that figured out. So they threw him off the top of the building. The backpack didn't open and he just crashes to the ground into like a million pieces. And everybody's like, oh, well.
How times have changed. I mean, now in construction, that would be a nightmare if something fell from the 4th floor.
Yeah. And then while we're talking about the $6 million man, Jim is like, I'm the one that came up with the eye thing, where they did the whole see through the back of his head.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and he was like, we used like a peephole in a door, and that was the thought process, and then that's how he came up with that.
So you see what he sees, right?
Right.
This is what the toy would see.
Yeah, and I meant to ask him. I'm like, that's why Boba Fett had the thing, but I never. It's one of those things. I need to get back to that, and it's just so much stuff happening at the same time where you just never get back to it. And what else? There's the Kenner building. It was funny because I was talking to him and I mentioned that I'd gone to Cincinnati, and they were like, why would you go to Cincinnati? It's like, because dude, history. I wanted to see the mural and I wanted to see the Kenner building and everything. And I'd showed them pictures of us at the Kenner building, you and I, and told them the story. And they were and we talked about the mural, and he's like, dude, there's a actual documentary on them making that mural somewhere. So I have to look that. I haven't looked it up yet, or haven't tried finding it, but apparently there's a whole documentary on the murals and their parent, Kenner. I don't know if you realized it or not, but Cincinnati's just full of these murals all over the place. And I wanted to get more into it when we were there, but I never did. And probably when we go back, I may look more into Cincinnati. Just because those murals are everywhere, and it's a cool town. Mm-hmm. And then what else? So anyway, so as I'm talking about the Cincinnati trip, I talk about, and I tell him, I said, because I wanted to find something. I wanted to do that, find that treasure that nobody has. And then I go talking about, I said, dude, I was talking about how I was at a toy store, and the lady had a guy bring in the Stretch Armstrong in a box. And, I tried selling it to her for $50 and blah, blah, blah. And then the lady figured out that it was a toy designer, a Kenner employee having a yard sale. And like, everybody get out of my shop. I'm going toy shopping. And then Tim looks at me and goes, I designed that. So then he goes off about Stretch Armstrong for 30 minutes about how they, doing everything and designing the monster, and how the monster ended up just, how nasty cornstarch was, and how weird it was trying to put stuff in a latex glove, and said a few other choice things that it's not good for a family podcast. But
is that what's inside Stretch Armstrong? Cornstarch and water.
Cornstarch and water is inside a Stretch Armstrong.
I was wondering that because we did Polars and that goo came out. And I'm like, what is this? Yeah,
it's water and cornstarch.
Oh, cool.
Hold on a minute. Mandy's leaving, I think.
Hello.
Hey.
Who are you on the phone with?
Huh?
Are you podcasting?
I'm podcasting.
Oh.
Go, shorty. It's your birthday.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye, kiddo.
I'll see you later.
Yep.
See what I got.
Ooh, nice.
And I got a snow globe.
Awesome. Y'all have fun.
Bye.
Bye. She couldn't hear you say happy. Jason says happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I had my headphones on, so.
Yeah.
So
that was dinner.
Huh?
That was dinner?
That was dinner, dude.
The day before the social. That wasn't even the social.
That wasn't even the social. Dude, and I still got more things. So anyway, he talked about this whole Stretch Armstrong thing and the whole cornstarch and how you had to have like different shoes and how rats love the cornstarch and blah, 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 blah. He's like, you couldn't wear your normal shoes into the production room because it was just cornstarch everywhere.
That's one factory I don't want to be in then.
Yeah. And he said the rats were nasty. And then towards the end of the night, he shared a story about, we were talking about stuff that, what was the one thing you never produced, stuff that was never produced. So he but he talks about how they wanted to do a Tuskegee Airman figure line.
Huh.
So he was like, it because he wanted it to be historic.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, it's perfect because you've got the definite, you've got the good guys and you've got the bad guys, which the bad guys, were Nazis and everything.
These are Nazis.
Yeah. And he goes, and you definitely had, you had, and it was definitely, it was cut and dry what good guys, bad guys, blah, blah, blah. And how he went to Tuskegee, he went to the Tuskegee Institute or whatever, the people that run the, I'm losing my train of, but the conservatory. And they have a board of people, and he was just saying how cool it was that all these people, that all these guys, they're doctors and lawyers and everything. And basically what the Tuskegee, whatever the conservatory, or I like I said, my train of thought, I can't think of it right now.
Foundation or something.
Yeah, it's a foundation. Their job is to get minority pilots to pay for them to get the people, minorities that are interested in being a pilot. They'll pay for their pilot for them to get their pilot's license. So for me, I'm like, this is cool because, you're hearing history here.
Mm-hmm.
And how he made up everything. He had the planes, he had everything drawn up, and he gets their approval. And then he starts trying to sell it. And Hasbro ended up picking it up and made a couple of 12-inch Tuskegee Airmen GI Joes. So he's like, I didn't make a lot of money off this, but to think that I got a few guys their pilot's license was awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's
it was
pretty
cool to hear
special.
the story, huh?
That's pretty special.
Right. So, and it was cool to hear it from concept to finish, and hear what all he went through to make that happen. Which, that was cool. And then to find out he's writing a book. Tim is, I don't know. He's trying to decide if it's going to be just Star Wars or is it going to be his life as a toy designer, which I want to hear his life as a toy designer, because to me, it would be a really interesting book. So that's going to be out. He's thinking in the next year. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be cool.
Yeah.
And then we went to the party. That was Friday night. Friday night was just.
Was there an after party Friday night? After dinner, or is it
we kind of walked around because it was in an area that one of these multi-use places.
Yep.
And by the time we were done with dinner, the multi-use place was shutting down.
Okay.
But we walked around for a minute, and we wrapped that up about 10:30 because we were like, Narayan was like, all right, I need everybody back at my house at 9 a.m. to start setting up. So that ended Friday night fairly early. And then, woke up at whenever and showed up at Narayan's about 9:30 and started setting up for the social. That got going about 10, about 9. Crap, I'm getting confused. That got going around 11 and just kind of partied all day, man. It was hot. And, I drank a lot, but I didn't get drunk because I'm sweating it all out. It was ridiculous. But, had a bunch of people from all over the country show up. I tried playing pool. I won a couple of games, but didn't make it to the finals. Narayan did have a trivia that I thought was going to be hard. Well, it was hard, but the two people that won had like 20 points, and then fifth place was like 5. I was like, dude, I could have, or third place was like 5. So I was like, man, I could have won something because I got 5 questions right, because it was all about his cantina, all about his collection, and Jedi Luke, and it was some crazy questions. And we had a food truck there, which I've discovered. I'm like, the food truck's the way to go because we weren't slaving over a hot grill all day, because last year we got stuck doing that all day, and it was miserable, because then you turn, not only is it miserable for the person that's standing over the grill, you lose that whole section of space because nobody wants to stand next to the grill when it's 100 degrees outside.
Right.
So that was cool. He had collection tours, dude. The best part, Justin comes out to me and is like, Narayan's giving Jim Swearingen swag advice. So I dropped what I was doing and watched Narayan give Jim Swearingen swag advice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there were a couple. You could just see, dude. I forgot at Friday night. I look over at Narayan sitting next to Jim, and the look on his face was he was a kid in a candy store.
Sure.
He was just smiling from ear to ear, going, "Oh my God, I'm having dinner with Jim Swearigan." And it was even to me because when I walked up to that table and I saw those two guys sitting there, I had to take a step back because it was a oh shit moment because two Kenner designers I'm getting ready to have dinner with, and it was just an incredible time on Saturday. We had we had like 4 or 5 Kenner guys there. We had Daryl DePriest was there. We had Jim and Tim were there, and a couple of other guys like
Doug Miller.
Doug Miller. You're better with this stuff than I am.
And Craig Stokely.
Yeah. So we had all those guys were there. And I think they're all pretty much local. So it's pretty amazing that they showed up to our little summer social. The social was fun, man. It hanging out, talking Star Wars. It's something we hadn't done in over a year and a half. And it was done in a blink of an eye, dude. It just, all
just
of
like
a sudden.
A wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Months of planning gone in 2 hours.
Right. Well, it was more like 7, but
yeah. Okay, great.
We stayed till like 7:00 and and then about 7:00 we packed up and hung out for another few minutes. Actually, we went back to the hotel for a little bit because we had room sales at like 9:00.
Oh.
And that got interesting because we had stuff all over the place, man. Just the amazing stuff that was at that room sale because we had a couple of big names that showed up to that. And then, Ian was there with his daughter trying to sell stuff and selling all of his wares. And I picked up, like I said, I already had a deal with him for cases. So he had them for me. And prototypes, there was prototypes there. There was the one thing that I'm mad at myself for missing out on, but it was what I wanted, but it wasn't what I wanted. So I was kind of like, I'll wait, but it was a stupid price and I should have picked it up. One of the guys had a Boba Fett offer Leia, but it was beat to hell. And he was only wanting like
the card, right? Not a carded figure. It's just a
carded figure. No, it was a carded figure.
Oh, okay.
But the bubble was crap and the card was kind of beat up and it had the sticker on the back covering up the rocket firing Fed offer. And I wanted it, but I really wanted one without the sticker on it, or at least because it just had the black sticker on it. And they had another one that explained, I think, a little bit more about Fed. And it wasn't the card I wanted, but he only wanted like $200 for it. I hemmed and hawed over it. And as soon as I paid Ian for my cases, he ran over there and bought it. I was like, you sucker, you just spent the money that I gave you to buy the thing I want. And he was like, sorry, mate. That's how it rolls. And I've learned that if you want something, you better buy it when you see it because it's going to disappear.
Otherwise, something like that's going to happen.
And I'm like, that was probably my only opportunity, not only opportunity, but only opportunity to pick one up cheap. And I could at least have one in my collection. And I just, that's what happens when you hem and haw. And the issue was I had, in my mind, I'm like, I already spent a ton of money with Ian and I'm going to try to limit myself for what I'm going to, I'm got a budget or I'm trying to stay in a budget. And it didn't happen. Yeah. So somebody else bought it. So buy it when you see it.
Yeah.
Don't hem and haw. And guy had a tub of a little tub of prototypes, and I picked one up that said $15, and I'm like, obviously this is priced wrong. And he's like, yeah, because it was $15. I'm buying 5 of them.
Yeah.
And it was a good time just hanging out. That went from like 9 till about 11:30 midnight. And dude, I totally set up Maggie. You know who Maggie is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a Jar Jar. She's a Jar Jar guy. She likes Jar Jar Emperor and Tarkin, or maybe Jar Jar and Tarkin. I don't know. I think she likes the Emperor, but Anthony had showed up with all his prototypes, and he pulls out a prototype Jar Jar from the Lost line, I thought it was, with that card, the card back I'm talking
I know.
about.
I know.
And it turns out, I think it was part of they did a carbonite collection or something where they had it all in a carbonite chamber
Yes.
from Celebration a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was something from that, but it was a prototype because it had the tracking number on the back of it. And Maggie's like, crap. So she bought that. And then I'm like, Ian, she needs a case. And she's like, you suck. I'm like, I like spending people's money.
Right. It's fun when it's not your money.
Exactly. And then after that, Narayan, of course, at 12:30 when everybody's trying to leave, Narayan's like, let's go to Waffle House.
He's a party animal.
He really is. When he gets out, man. And he looks up Waffle House and I'm like, dude, you realize that Waffle House aren't 24 hours anymore. He goes, no, they're all 24 hours. So we found one that was close and we went there. And of course it's typical Waffle House at 12:30 at night. They've got a bunch of shady characters in there, shady characters working, shady characters eating. And they look right at us and go, man, it's going to be like a half an hour before we could seat you. And I'm like, dude, the tables are there empty. They're just dirty. And of course, Shannon's with me and he goes, dude, those guys don't want to work right now. They don't want us eating there. There's a reason why those tables are still dirty and they're telling us it's going to be a half an hour till they could seat us.
Right.
So he goes, let's go. So we leave and try to find another Waffle House and it's closed. And this is about 1 a.m. So we were just like, I'm done. No more.
Yeah. No mas.
No mas. That's a sign. No Waffle House for us at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I wrapped up my evening or my weekend and just kind of hung out. I know they had a few people show up to the Braves game on Sunday and it was the Braves and Rays. So I didn't go. I'm not a big Braves fan. I've been to a couple of games. The stadium's awesome. But at that point I was like, I'm worn out. I've been up till 1 a.m, 2 days in a row and I can't do it. And was out in the sun all day Saturday. So
Right.
it was falling asleep at 7:00 on Sunday evening for me. You're trying to watch TV and you're falling asleep.
Exhausted. Yeah.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
No, it was a great time. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to do it again. We've got stuff coming up, now that everything seems to be over. We don't know what's going on with the Delta variant, but I have a feeling that this thing's all going to be like the flu, man. It's going to be around forever. And we're just going to have to, we'll just have to deal with it. And I don't think masks are going away. You're still going to see them for a long time, especially in like a doctor's office or when you're dealing with people really close. So we'll see what happens with that. And it was a fun time. It was fun. I was talking to one guy who's another Christian collector, and he was just like, I've never really spent time with Christian. I've met him at Celebration, but it's such a cluster at Celebration because he's got a ton of people trying to buy art from him, and you don't want to stop him from selling. So you talk to him for a few minutes and then you're off to the next person or to the next booth. And he was like, I've never spent time with Christian, and this guy's a bigger Christian collector than I am. I know he's got a bunch of his art. And he was just like, that was cool. And I was like, but that was the thing that I really picked up from the social was there was a lot of people that I've never met face-to-face before that, you knew people, people on Facebook. And this was like the first time you actually were able to spend time with them and meet them face-to-face, which to me was incredible that we were able to do that as a club, bring people together. And it was a fun time. I don't know if you have anything you think you can add or you got any questions or comments or.
No, I mean, like, I'm just trying to paint a picture here. How many people were at the social and how many people were at the room sales?
I think we had about 70 people at the social, 70 to 80, somewhere in there. And then probably about 20 at the room sales, 20 or 30 at the room sales. Cause it wasn't a whole lot of people showed up, but the people that were there had good quality stuff. And a lot of guys were, left. And, the guys that were close enough to go home and shower, went home and showered and then came back from room sales. But yeah, it was a fun time. I didn't, just trying to think if I missed out on anything. We had
There's
You
good
know,
swag. I want to thank Narayan for including me because he didn't have to do that. So, but he did. You know, he had. I'm pulling it out here. There was the "It's Vaccination, It's Fun" that came with the swag, where it's the Kennebird. I was going to say Kenny Bird. Goonie Bird.
Goonie Bird.
Kennebird. Goonie Bird.
Goonie Bird.
It's Trivia, It's Fun, which has a very cool logo. I don't know who designed that one.
I don't know. Some guy in a half-assed podcast.
Some
may have done
jackass. There's a cup. There's a pin. The battle cap. He does everything. He goes all out.
He really does. He
Coaster.
Yeah. I've got
You have a cup that you can put the coaster on.
It's like everything Narayan does is a but dude, Narayan's awesome. He's an awesome host, but every time you show up, you walk away with something. He's got swag for his collection. He's got swag for every event, and it's a coaster, it's a bottle opener, it's a bottle cap. And he loves bottle caps, man, and that's sort of become his trademark. And the bottle caps are cool because you could do. It's like 5 cents a bottle cap, so you can get a lot of them cheap. And he goes all out with swag, man, and he's a gracious host, and I appreciate him hosting because that's something he doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to give out all that swag, and he does it, but that because he loves doing it, and it's just. It's something that I want to aspire to because it feels like, when you go to a collection, you walk away with something, or you go to a party and you walk away with something, you got, something tangible or a memory that you bring home with you. And it's just cool. Swag is awesome because of that very reason. It's something tangible. It's memory of that event. And yeah,
That's awesome.
He does good swag. He is the swag king for a reason.
But it sounds like we need to get more local people involved with the club again.
Yeah.
Like after COVID, everyone went their separates.
Yeah, I think that's a goal for the club is to get more local people involved. And you and I are working on something that's going to be pretty cool for the club. That I actually think I've seen people already trying to copy it, even though we haven't really made an announcement about it.
Yeah, they're copying it. It's parallel thinking. I saw that the other day. I'm like, oh, damn it. It's not new anymore. We're going to be 3 months too late. We were planning this for about a month now.
Right. But it just is the way things work because you have stuff planned and then stuff doesn't work out. And then you're like, all right, you got to shift ideas. And it's something that you had, an idea you have that I love because, it's for people that necessarily can't host a lot of people or host a large event for hours where they can host something, but they can host something for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect example of how just getting together and saying, hey, let's work something out for those people that are scared to host an event, but they're willing to open their doors for a few minutes and host.
Yeah.
Which, I think we've, got that. We include, and it's a great idea. But
I'm trying to figure out the Facebook algorithms because it's just infuriating. There's people who say that they don't see the posts, and it's just like, well, we're doing everything we can,
right,
to increase the opportunity for people to see this stuff. But I know how Facebook works. Mm-hmm. And Facebook will show you the things to keep you on your page. So 9 times out of 10, when I pull up Facebook for the first time, I close the app and open it up. It's going to be something Star Wars.
Right.
If you see something you don't like right away, you have an increased probability of closing the app. So if you're a casual Star Wars fan and you're interested in maybe coming to the meetup, but you're also, the first thing that comes to my mind is a cheese connoisseur. They're going to, show you cheese posts first. I don't know why that came to my mind.
No, it makes sense, dude.
And they're going to bury the Star Wars stuff because it's all part of that algorithm. It's not based on time of post. It's based on your interest in keeping you involved in Facebook as long as possible to see advertisements.
Right. And back to that, everybody's like, well, they're not seeing the announcements. And if you're not going to the page, you're not going to see everything. So, if you're a member of a Star Wars club and you're curious what's going on, you got to go to the page. Don't just stay on the main feed. because you're, like Jason said, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. And, you know, we're actually, yeah, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. I'm going to make a little announcement here in a second. I want to talk about the raffle we've got going.
Oh,
But,
right.
you know, we had people that are still messaging Narayan and myself and are like, when's the next meetup? Or, hey, I didn't know y'all were having a meetup, or what the heck? And we're doing everything we can to get the word out there. I mean, you've created graphics to where it's coming up, but I mean, I guess unless you keep bringing that to the top of mind and keep tagging it and keep hitting it, people are never going to see it, which, as it's frustrating as an admin of the club, because, you know, you're, like you said, you're doing the best you can. And, you know, we're even talking about doing other things and venturing out on the other mediums, but everything comes back to Facebook. I've tried getting off of Facebook before, and it keeps dragging you back in because, you know, I've got like 5 or 6 messaging groups through Facebook that, you know, I've got one for my band. I've got 2 or 3 for the club. And then it just seems like you get tagged, you get drug into another one because somebody wants to do something. And then they make another Facebook group that, or you know, chat group that you got to be, know what's going on in. So, and the prime example of it now is somebody donated. I don't know who donated it, but in 2005, they re-released the early bird set. And somebody had taken one of those and had all the Kenner guys that were at the meetup sign it. And I think they may have taken it to IC. I'm not sure if like TC's on it and Jim Swearing or Kim Simmons is on it. You know better than, like, I can't keep up with names. You could do a better job of that than I can. And that's something that I need to get better at, because I want to know who these people are. And I want to learn, by being involved and meeting Tim and meeting Jim and watching the toys that made us. I want to learn more about the process and who the people were that created these toys for us. And anyway, long story short, they had one of these early birds, and it's encased in its very awesome acrylic, and we're raffling that off for Children's Healthcare. So if you guys are interested in getting in on that, message us at smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com, and I will send you in the right direction for that. Because I think it's really cool, because we're raffling it off for like $5 a ticket, and it's probably the signatures are priceless, but it's a cool piece. The acrylic's probably a $50 piece in just acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's probably, it's a priceless piece, but it'd be really cool. And I've actually got to buy a couple of tickets, because I think it'd be cool to have in my collection. And it's one of those things where when you see somebody doing it, it's too late, because you got to find the early bird set, and then you got to get somebody then you got to start collecting the signatures. And, unless you're at an event and you dragging this thing around to all these events, you're not going to get it. And who really wants to, I mean, it's cool. I don't know if I'd want to do that, dragging that piece around, because I've done that before, and you end up getting it damaged, and, you got to pack it right. And it's just a pain in the ass to get. And it'd be an awesome piece to have in somebody's collection. And it's for Children's Healthcare. And I know we raised a couple of $100 so far for it. So I'm hoping we can increase that number here pretty quick.
When is that?
I think it's August 7th is what I saw Narayan post.
Cool. I'll have to buy a couple tickets.
Yeah. So it's a cool piece. So
even
definitely,
if it's just for supporting the children's healthcare.
Right. And it's something awesome, man. It's an awesome piece somebody could throw in their collection. But yeah.
It's a great piece and a great cause.
Exactly. We've the clubs, that's one of the prouder things, because the club's raised several $1,000s over the years for children since it started. And that was sort of one of our things was to help the kids out, and because that's the future of collecting. And it's really awesome. Like when you told your story about your son getting that Black Series last week at Celebration, when you see a kid get excited about collecting, that's something special.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Real quick about Facebook. Sorry.
Yo, go on,
So
dude.
another thing I wanted to ask about was events, and people say they have trouble finding the events. I mean, it's a closed group, but anybody in the group should see the event, but it doesn't seem like that might be the case. And I'm looking at the September event, and it looks like we've invited 140 people, and I'm looking at the August event, and it looks like one person invited.
Maybe I need to invite. I
don't understand what's going on. And then there's like 0 people invited for the October event. But I don't know how to share these. Like, it's just,
I guess the thing that needs to happen is us as admins need to go in and invite people to all these, because we've kind of had the attitude that we want people to work for it in the past, because we don't, it's like, if you don't have the, and maybe this is our attitude and this is kind of bitten us in the butt, because it's like, you should know how to find this stuff. And I think Facebook's made it more difficult to find it now. So maybe as admins, we need to go in and invite people, or
maybe the first couple ones to get people, give them their little taste of the drug. And then once they're addicted.
Right. Because meetups are awesome. They're fun. It's just being around other Star Wars collecting and realizing that there's other nerds like you out there. It's a fun time to be at a meetup.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how hard you want to get into this. We're at an hour and a half, but we can get into it for a minute. Just let's get into it for a few minutes. Just how fun a meetup is. I mean, it seems to be. Go ahead.
I mean, we don't necessarily need to get into it. You said it without saying it with the Summer Social,
right?
Like how you not only got to see people, but you were connecting with the people who made the product, the thing that we love, the sculptors, the designer, the idea people, telling the stories, and you kind of get that in a meetup. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think you said it without saying it.
No, I think you're right. No, you're right. And that's, it would be kind of ridiculous to repeat myself again, but yeah, because you never know who's going to show up at a meetup. I mean, I can't, we're not going to advertise that, if we know Tim's coming to a meetup, he may show up out of the blue, because we're not, as respect for him and his privacy, we're not going to advertise that he's going to be at a meetup. You never know. He may show up, he may not. You may have, is Daryl the priest is the guy that's doing the book, right?
Yep.
He may show up at a meetup.
Rich a lot.
And Rich a lot. You never know. So you need to get out there, connect with the others in your community, because it's something special. The Star Wars world out there. I mean, if you're scared, just show up, man, and start talking to people. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself and be like, hey, it's, this is my first meetup. People are cool and will welcome you with open arms, because, that's how you grow the community. And, I know personally, I need to do a better job of that. When I see somebody new and talking to them better and stuff. But that's sort of something I've challenged myself to.
Oh, that was another great thing I saw in the photos from the Summer Social, that Narayan included name tags.
Yes.
So even if you knew the face but didn't know the name, you could see the name tag and be like, oh, hey, Richard or whoever, it's good to see you again. And it just really easily broke the ice.
Right. And you got the major icebreaker of Star Wars. It's like, what do you collect?
Right.
Tell me about your collection.
That's the entry point for us all.
Right. And we know not everybody's going to collect vintage, because vintage is right now, especially right now, because vintage is ridiculous.
Yes.
Ridiculously expensive. And, you may collect modern stuff. And I've told it before, I'll say it before, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter, because we all collect Star Wars. It doesn't matter what you collect. It's Star Wars, and we can talk about it. Because I love hearing about other people's collections. I love seeing other people's collections. I love people that have their original toys that they played with when they were a kid. They may be beat to hell, but they have their original toys, which I think is awesome, and I'm jealous about that, because I don't have my original toys. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to have them back, but I know I'll never get them back, because I have no clue where they are. I don't know, I don't know if they got sold at a yard sale or what, but.
Or if they ended up in that fish tank where that guy dumped the acid into all those beater figs.
Right. That's
who
just,
should not be named.
right. That was an asshole move.
Yeah.
You know,
Um,
no. Oh.
There's like so many different points of conversation I want to take this in, and we're gonna have to save it for next week. Like, I also wanted to talk about giving tours of your room,
Right.
and how do you do it for a collector and how do you do it for a non-collector. But I'll save that topic for next week.
Yeah, dude, write it all down. Let's do this next week. We can do it.
We need a guest too.
Yeah, we do. We probably need to bring in Orion in, and we can talk about swag one time too. That'd be a fun episode. So I don't think we ever talked to him about swag.
No, let's set that up.
Yeah. Are you writing this down, or I need to write this down?
I'm writing it down in my memory, which I'll forget in 3 hours. I'm gonna make note on my because I'm digital.
I'm paper. I'm old school,
Paper.
man. I just, it's a pain in the butt. Well, I don't like it because my phone, it doesn't die, but I've got my phone set up to where after about 30 seconds, it goes black. So it's just annoying to have to put all my biometrics and stuff into it. So I can have it on a piece of paper and I can write it down. And I don't use my phone to its full potential, man. It's really sad that I've got this awesome piece of technology that I keep in my hands that I use to go to Facebook, go to Instagram, and check to see how the podcast is doing. That's what I use my phone for. And I don't, I'm using like 1/10 of its potential, which sucks, but that's a me problem.
Got more power in your phone than they did in the Apollo 11 capsule,
Which is freaking scary.
Yeah, that is freaking scary. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's another topic.
Another topic for another day.
Oh my. And I'm looking at my Been There cups from Galaxy's Edge. Those things are selling for like $300 now, apparently.
Which cups?
Starbucks mugs.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't realize it was like that. So that's just another like, holy crap.
I think it's just a thing where people miss out on it and then they're like, I'll pay whatever for it. And
that seems to happen though with all the Disney Been There series for Starbucks mugs. They're all expensive now. There's like a Magic Kingdom 1, Magic Kingdom 2. Like they retire them, and then once they retire, they obviously shoot up in price.
Right, because people want them, and I can't collect. I like coffee mugs too much, so I've got too many of them already, and it's like I would never use them because I've got this. Somebody released a set of plates that look like the original plates in A New Hope for the 40th anniversary of Star Wars. And I just don't use them. They're sitting in my cabinet. I bought them for cheap from Think Geek or somewhere. And they just sit in my cabinet because I don't want to use them. I'm scared that they're going to break. And I do the same thing with the mugs.
All right. We're rambling.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. This is a good wrap up point. And Jason, you where can they find you?
You can go to wasolco.com, but leave us a review. You probably listen to a million podcasts asking you to do that, but it does help. It does get us ahead of the pack. There's a million Star Wars podcasts out there, and for people to find us, that's the best way to do that. So just leave us a review and join the conversation on Facebook. We got some good feedback last week about the solo episode, so thank you for that. And
Email us at smugglersgalaxy at gmail.com. And thanks for listening, man. Thank you, because I think tell a friend and leave a review and send us an email, message us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, buy us a t-shirt. Anyway, Jason, have a great rest of your day. This is the way.
This is the way.